Magandang araw mga kababayan. Ito po ulit si Lolo Dan at meron tayong magandang balita na para sa mga kababayan natin dyan sa Pilipinas o saan man panig ng mundo kayo nagtatrabaho sa ngayon ay itong Licensed Immigration Consultant at Placement Agency dito sa New Zealand ay maraming mga available na posisyon na kailangan punuan. Meron na po silang mga job token o yung mga job order doon sa mga iba't ibang trabaho na kanilang pupunuan para sa mga iba't ibang company na nangangailangan ng mga skilled worker dito sa New Zealand. Ang susunod na video ay itong webinar nila noong isang gabi, Thursday night yata yun. Kaya medyo late na ako nakapag-video ngayon kasi marami pa pong ginagawa sa trabaho at sa aking garden. Kaya inyong panoorin ng mabuti at pakinggan yung kanilang mga sinasabi at yung mga requirements na dapat nyong gawin para makapag-apply dito. Ito po ay located sa New Zealand. Kaya inyong panoorin ng buo itong video na ito para inyong malaman lahat ng mga dapat nyong gawin para makapag-apply sa iba't ibang position na available para dito sa placement, recruitment at licensed immigration consultant na ito. Ang pangalan po ng agency na ito ay Pinoy Visas NZ. Sila po ay based dito sa Ofw New Zealand. At marami na po din silang mga kababayan na natin na natulungan na makakuha ng kanilang mga working visa at resident visa. Kaya wala kayong dapat ikatakot o pangamba na ito ay scam lang. Hindi po. Ito ay talagang legit na legit. At makikita nyo naman sa kanilang FB page at sa kanilang website na sila ay New Zealand Immigration Accredited Licensed Immigration Consultant at Placement Agency. Kaya panoorin nyo na lang itong video at inyong pakinggang mabuti. Kasi yung mga ibang trabaho dito ay hindi pwede gagaling sa Pilipinas. Kailangan ay nasa ibang bansa kayo. Out of the Philippines. Meron naman mga trabaho na pwede doon sa mga kababayan natin na naandyan sa Pilipinas. Pwede kayong mag-apply. Kaya inyong tapusin lang itong video at pakinggan yung mabuti. Itong susunod na video ay itong webinar nila. Kaya good luck sa ating lahat at sa ating mga kababayan na nagnanais na makatrabaho dito sa New Zealand. At huwag natin palampasin itong opportunity na ito. Kasi ito'y once in a lifetime nyo lang na opportunity. Ang opportunity ay minsan lang dumarating, kaya i-grab nyo na agad ito. Maraming salamat sa inyo at huwag niyong kalilimutan na mag-subscribe sa channel ko kung kayo ay bago pa lang dito sa aking channel, YouTube channel, Lolo Dan's Vlog. At like, share, at mag-comment lang kayo kung ano pa ang inyong gustong malaman bukod doon sa mga sasabihin nitong mga licensed immigration consultant na ito. Kaya ito na yung video.
Welcome to our webinar tonight. The camera's here, Rowena. Sorry, guys. The reason for us laughing is because we've actually got two screens set up, because if you may or may not know, we're going to talk about specific jobs. So I have a separate page open that Rowena was looking at that has all of the roles that we're going to talk about tonight. So very, very quickly, I will bring up the roles that we are looking to talk about today. I don't know if you want to talk through what these roles are in Tagalog.
Yeah, so good evening here in New Zealand. And magandang hapon sa Pilipinas. What's the time in Saudi Arabia now? We are 9 hours ahead, so it's morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. So we'll be discussing our requirements. So one, we need construction workers. For now, we just received the demand last night. So they just need 70 construction workers here in Auckland.
So that's a lot of roles just for that one company.
Yes.
So these are roles that you can see on the screen. These are the roles that we'll talk about in more detail. So these are some of the roles. These are some of the 70. It's actually more.
70 is still I did not write it there, but yeah, it's.
Now, what I'm going to do is very quickly put up on the screen what's required of every person who's looking to come to New Zealand. So this is a requirement of Immigration New Zealand. And so for those of you who've previously been deployed, you know how important it is to collect your documents, provide them, have them all ready in order to, be deployed to wherever you are going to. New Zealand in particular has specific requirements in relation to your work experience and how you prove that. So what we talk about is verifiable work experience. So verifiable work experience is the following. Now, in order to have a visa approved, you need to prove the minimum for that job. And when we talk about some of these roles, Rowena will hopefully specify whether they're needing, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, whatever it might be, in order to have the visa approved. The reason why we talk about verifiable work experience is that in New Zealand currently, to have the visa approved, the visa is tied to something called a job check. And the job check will specify, for example, that a particular company is recruiting crane operators that have a minimum of 3 years experience. And so that's why it becomes really, really important that you have the right types of documents. So the information needs to be consistent. It needs to be relevant to the role and the job on offer. It also needs to be independently verifiable. So if you've been deployed as an OFW, you will have different work experience documents to somebody who is working in the Philippines and using that experience in order to meet the requirements. So very quickly, here is, oops, didn't press the buttons right. Here is the requirements of what the difference is. So the reason this becomes very, very important is the sooner you have these documents, the sooner your visa can be lodged, the sooner you are able to come to New Zealand and start working. So on the screen, you can see that if you've got overseas work experience, and overseas is any work experience out of the Philippines, you would have a certificate of employment, your POEA documents, your passports with all of the visas and the stamps, employment contracts, the confirmation letter from the employer specifying that Ronaldo worked as a crane operator in Saudi from X to Y date. You'd have pay slips and ID documents. If you're relying on work experience from the Philippines, the requirements are a little bit different. So as well as the certificate of employment and contracts and pay slips, in addition, you're going to need PhilHealth and SSS.
Sorry, be paid by your employer. It's not personal contribution. It must be paid by your employer.
And the reason for this is because the government in New Zealand wants to check that you've actually got the work experience, and that's one way that they can verify it. So we'll jump into the details that we know you actually want to hear about. So this is what's important, and it's important that you understand what you're going to need, because if you don't have these things, even with an offer of employment, you won't get the visa. So that's why that's important. So we'll talk about the first role that we're looking to help Rowena find candidates so that she can then introduce you to employers. What we'll do is, after we've talked about each role, we'll share the link to apply for the job in the Facebook. There's a chat function, so I can see everyone's commenting and they're liking. Thanks for that. We'll post the specific links to the jobs. It's important that you only apply for the job that you qualify for. Because otherwise you'll get lost in the system.
We have other experience wherein they got different trade experience. They still apply for that. For me, I just deleted it immediately.
All right, so you've heard it from Rowena. If you're not the right candidate, you've applied to the wrong job.
You have to apply to the position that you have had experience. Don't apply if you don't have experience with the position or job you're applying for.
Okay.
It's not our rule. It's Immigration New Zealand's rules. And of course, it's the employer.
Yes. So I'm going to bring up for us the screen with the first job that we're going to talk about. Now, the first job, I'll put this over here so you can see it nice and big growing up, is the role of, what's this first one?
Drainage,
sewerage, and stormwater laborers. So tell us.
This one is like underground plumbing. If you are a plumber and you have had experience in underground plumbing, like drainage, sewerage, stormwater, then we need you in this category. I know some of you guys in Saudi Arabia are watching right now, the plumbers. You just need to put in your CV that you have to put in your CV the detailed duties that you've done as underground plumber. How many years of experience do we need to verify for this? 1 year work experience.
Because it's a laborer role. So an actual plumber would need 3 years. So if you're coming as a drain layer or a plumber, 3 years, but this is a laborer role, and so then you only need 1.
So even you're a plumber, but you are outside Philippines, but you want to work as a drain layer, a helper, a laborer, then we can put you in here.
Correct. So you could be considered for
this category,
for that role. Now,
plumbers there, we need you. This is for Christchurch.
So I'm just going to really quickly send this to our team who's actually. So we have our wonderful teammates who's commenting within the chat for us. So they will share the first link, which was for it's called Drainage, Sewerage, Stormwater Labourer. So effectively it's a plumber's assistant role.
Yeah.
And so that's why you need less work experience. You only need the 1 year. And then so if you've got work experience but you don't have enough documents, so you know yourself, oh, I don't have 3 years, this would be but I've got 1 year, this is the role that you would apply for. The next role is, where is it gone? Oh, I've lost the roles. Where do they go?
Telecom installers.
Yes. So with the telecom installers, can you explain a little bit as to what that role means, what skills people should or shouldn't have?
Yeah, so these telecom installers, we need guys from the Philippines. I have experience in installing fiber connections to home, business, premises. The candidates who have experience in, can I mention companies in the Philippines? Yeah, so Digital, PLDT, we need you here in New Zealand. So salary here is like your salary in the Philippines for 2 months is your salary here in New Zealand for a week. That's it.
Yeah.
So with the if you are a graduate of computer science, networking, so information technology, if you have an experience with telecom, information networking, computer, then we need you here in New Zealand. Your category is telecom installer. Candidates who have experience in installation of fiber connections.
All right. I think what I've seen in the past is that people have gone and been posted somewhere as a linesman. A linesman might also be appropriate for this particular role or a similar in order to be able to, to meet the requirements.
It's like, fiber optic technicians. We need 200 for this category.
Okay, so there's a lot of opportunity. So if you're not a telecommunications linesman, but you know somebody who is, please feel free to share the information of this role to them and ask them to apply it. Maybe also explain that they obviously need to have the right verifiable experience in order to get the visa approved, but that's also good to know.
How many years of experience do we need to verify for this fiber optic technicians?
Ideally, they would have 3. So as a general rule, you want to be having, for most roles in New Zealand, 3 years experience. There is the odd one that's only 1 or 2, but as a general rule, the trades workers in New Zealand need to have 3. The more experience that you have or that you think you have, the easier it is also for you to move through the process, because lots of people might have the right skills, but then if they can't provide the paperwork, but you can, because you've got more, then you're going to move through the process faster.
So I receive applications from the Philippines, I think 8 of them, but I asked for the SSS fill out and pag-ibig payment before we put you in to make sure that you got really a verifiable experience. Most of the candidates we are receiving right now are from the Philippines. So you have to make sure that your employer paid for your SSS, PhilHealth, and pag-ibig, and you got employment certificate as well, company ID and your payslip. Your position is there.
Yeah.
We need candidates who have who can communicate with KWIS because they will be going to houses to install the internet connections. So we need candidates who have really better English proficiency.
And so that's another thing to note, is that not all roles require you. Obviously, New Zealand is an English-speaking country. Everyone speaks English. Officially, you don't need to prove your English language ability for a visa, but different employers will have different requirements. So the more comfortable you are speaking English, the easier the process will be for you. The next role is a landscape gardener. Is that correct?
Landscape gardeners, yes.
So tell us about the landscape gardeners. What kind of experience would most landscape gardeners from the Philippines traditionally have? Where have they worked?
Yeah, we have candidates. If sometimes we'll consider, for example, even they are a carpenter, but they have had experience in, let's say, fencing the gardens, landscaping as well.
Hardscaping.
Yeah. And then we accept that one. But we have as well experienced gardeners who do the landscaping, focus on landscaping.
So for this role, you need to have 3 years verifiable. So if you're a landscape gardener, gardening skills, hardscaping skills, this is the job to be applying for. We'll be sharing the link for the landscape role now, or landscaper, depending on. So that's the landscape gardener. The next one is that.
Yeah.
So if you can't guess, we're talking about excavator operators. So if you're an excavator operator, there is a large need again for your skills in New Zealand. So
just the small machines, but we will accept the guys who have experience in big machines. But for now, we need for this project, we need the small machines from the smallest to 100 tons, 50 tons. But we put guys who have experience and I got photos of them, the big excavators, heavy equipments. So we have received candidates, applicants from mining companies from Africa. I think you'll be receiving job offer from us, the excavator from Africa mining companies. So our project is in Christchurch. They will be working with the drain layer. They will be working together with the drain layer.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll quickly jump to the next role. And I did see someone post in a comment, one of the earlier comments, saying, I'm a rigger. Is there jobs for riggers? Yes, there is jobs for riggers.
For riggers.
So if you're a rigger, please apply to the role that we're going to be sharing. This is the rigger role. As Rowena's just mentioned, there's 40 of these roles that we're looking to recruit right now. So if you've got the skills and experience as a rigger, please apply
to us
as a rigger. So the next role is that of a is that of a concrete worker.
Concrete worker.
So concrete workers, you might be called a mason, not a stonemason.
Yes,
a stonemason's more like a bricklayer.
In the Philippines, they're all mason.
Yeah. So if you're a mason, we call you a concrete worker here in New Zealand. So if you're a mason, we're looking for concrete workers as well. So how many concrete workers, how many positions are currently available?
40 for concrete workers. Also, we got one site, they need concrete workers. It's like finishing, the one who really hold the holes and pouring.
Okay, so pouring, screeching, all of that stuff. So basically all types of concrete workers or masons. If you are a concrete worker or a mason, please apply to the concrete work. This one is that of carpenters. So carpenters are always in need in New Zealand. So the types of carpenters obviously varies. You've got formwork carpenters, you've just sort of got generic carpenters. This specific role that we're going to post in the comments is for a finishing carpenter. So more of that internal, final, detailed work. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So we need guys who have experience in cabinet making, the tables, the door installation. Yeah, that's it. Finishing carpenters.
So finishing carpenters, there's work, is it just in Auckland or is it everywhere in New Zealand?
It's in Auckland for now.
Okay. So if you're a finishing carpenter who would love to work in Auckland, please apply to that role. The next one that we're going to quickly jump to is that of a pipe fitter. So earlier we talked about the plumbing trades assistants. This one's an actual pipe fitter. So this one requires the 3 years verifiable work experience. It's considered more skilled from an immigration perspective. So if you're a pipe fitter, this role's for you? Have you got any additional details about this specific pipe fitter role?
Pipe fitter, you must be good in reading the PNID, and then the employer need you guys to have at least a really good English proficiency. So hi from the Singapore site, we're currently watching us, the pipe fitter there, who will have an interview on Friday with the company owner. Hi to all of you there.
Yeah, and to Mike, who's just said you're a finishing mason with 12 years experience, are you a finishing carpenter or a concreter? What's a
Finishing mason, concreter.
All right, well, a few posts up or comments up in the chat, you should find the role for the concreters. Please apply to that role, Mike. Mr. Mike Love. Yes. So moving on to the next role, we'll go to
Electrical trade assistants.
Is this electricians or electrical trade assistants?
Electrical trade assistants.
All right. So as you might know, to work as an electrician in New Zealand, you need to have registration with the EWRB. That's because you're going to do restricted work. If you can't get EWRB or you're not necessarily, you haven't finished that process yet, you can start in New Zealand working as an electrical trades assistant. So I think I saw a comment earlier, because they're all coming through quite quickly. Someone said that they were an electrician or a linesman or something. It could be that you also qualify for this particular role. So for this role, you're obviously dealing with electricity, or is it like laying cables? What is it?
Electrical field.
Okay.
We would really consider you if we have candidates on process who are master electricians, and we have deployed as well. They are engineers. They are electrical engineers in the Philippines, but they started working as an electrical trade assistant, and now they are registered electricians in New Zealand, and they are getting more money.
Well, not just that. Once you get your EWRB, you can go on a work to residence visa in New Zealand, which allows you to have a pathway to residence. Yeah.
So with the electrical trade assistants, whilst they are still outside New Zealand, they are still on process. Can they take the EWRB? They are still there?
Absolutely. You can start the EWRB process. You need to understand that process takes time, because it'll take a couple of months for them to assess all of your paperwork. Once they've assessed your paperwork, they'll give you kind of like an approval in principle that says that you've done the minimum hours in order to qualify for registration. And then once you're in New Zealand, you need to find a supervisor. When you have a supervisor, then you can apply for your limited license, and then that makes you an electrician. So there is definitely a pathway. And for anybody who has worked as an electrician and is committed to the process, you'll have lots of options. So we've got 3 minutes left and lots of jobs for this one.
We're here.
So we're going to jump down to, and then we're going to come back to this one. That will be the last one.
Yeah.
All right. So the next role is that of a scaffolder. So if you're a scaffolder, New Zealand wants you. Particularly if you've done, there's a TESDA qualification.
Yeah, NC2, the scaffold direction. Now, is it really important to have that one?
I'll explain. You don't need it for a visa, but it's important to have it if you want to earn more once you're in New Zealand, because it means that it's easier for you to get your New Zealand tickets as a scaffolder. And as you get your tickets and your licenses, you can claim you're a higher level. And obviously, the higher you go up in levels, the higher your pay increase. So that's scaffolders. So we've got 1 minute to go. And what we'll do is we'll actually finish off on the role of construction workers and labourers. Now, if for whatever reason you don't have enough work experience in one of the other occupations for enough period of time, so if you ever got 12 months as an electrical trades assistant or 12 months as a concreter, but you've got 6 months as one thing and 6 months as another, then potentially you can come in as a construction worker or labourer. So this is what we would call a jack of all trades. So you have good experience in a lot of things, but maybe you're not a master in any of them. So there's a lot of these roles being filled in New Zealand because we actually just need labourers as well. This is a good role for anyone who doesn't meet any of the other specific roles that we've just talked about, does still want to come to New Zealand and still has at least 12 months verifiable work experience in the construction and trade space. So it doesn't have to be in one occupation only, it can be a mix, but you need to have at least 12 months in total. So let's see what some of these comments are.
So if you are a construction worker, whatever field you are, but we still don't need you, if you are interested still to work as a construction worker, you can apply.
So I see a lot of people asking about drivers in the comments. There are jobs for drivers as well. They need to be specifically, and I don't think we've got the link that we can share here. We will share the link afterwards in the comments under this because we had it from before.
So we need garbage truck driver. All over New Zealand, this is garbage truck driver. We need fuel tanker driver. We need car carrier. We need
So just really important with regards to drivers, you do need to have, obviously, a driver's license.
Class 8 license from the Philippines.
What's the new one called? BC?
I did not see.
Sorry, if you've got the new license, it'll be whatever the same as the old 8 used to be. I know it's 2 letters now. Unfortunately,
I got questions because we got 50 or 60 truck drivers who are currently on process from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Do we need to translate everything in English? Because in the license, I can see some English there, but I saw a licensed immigration who let the candidate translate everything, and the candidate he's watching right now is like he's so stressed with
Yeah. Look, officially, every document that's provided to Immigration New Zealand must be in English or fully translated.
because
if
they're
it's
not Arabic. They don't understand that one.
Yeah.
You need to put in English.
So it needs to be in the language of this country. So if you're in another country and that license is not in English, if you've got your old and it's still valid, your Filipino driver's license, provide a copy of that instead.
So if you're hired up to translate your Saudi license, you can give to us your Class 8 license from the Philippines.
Yeah. It
Truck
needs to be
drivers from
valid.
Saudi.
It doesn't matter which country it's from, it just needs to be a valid driver's license. And I think it's important to note that, one, it needs to be valid because otherwise when you arrive in New Zealand, you can't drive. So when you first arrive, you can drive on your foreign driver's license for 12 months, but only 12 months. So as soon as you're here, you do also need to start the process of transferring your overseas driver's license to a New Zealand driver's license.
We have some on process. They don't have driver's license, but we are currently processing them. For visa application, do we really need driver's license?
Only for roles where you're going to drive. So if you're coming as a concreter and you're not going to be driving the concrete truck, you don't need a license.
Okay,
But if you're driving the concrete truck, then you do need a license.
so the guys, for example, these ones, the laborer, the welders, the electrical trade assistants, it is not a requirement for immigration. The driver's license is not a requirement for immigration
No.
New Zealand.
Not for Immigration New Zealand, but specific employers might have a license requirement because maybe they give you a work truck or they give you a work car or you're going to have to operate some machinery even if it's on a closed site. And so then they want to make sure for insurance purposes that they're covered. So then you might need a license. So ideally, everybody has a driver's license. Also, because once you're in New Zealand, you need a license to get around. But you don't
You need to drive yourself going to work.
Yes, no one's going to pick you up. Your mum is not here in New Zealand. Your mum's back in the Philippines.
We got Uber here, though.
No, but that becomes expensive. So if you need a license, it'll be because either the specific job requires it, and obviously it's a legal requirement, or the employer requires it because they give you access to a vehicle or it's a requirement of that specific job. But the requirements, what you will or won't need, should be listed in the jobs when you apply for them.
So the categories we need outside Philippines is drainage, sewerage, and stormwater laborer, the plumber, the underground plumber. We need candidates who are outside Philippines, landscape gardeners, excavator operator, TIG welders, rigger, structural steel welder, scaffolder. We might accept candidates from the Philippines because we've accepted some. Electrical trade assistant, we can accept candidates from the Philippines, truck driver. Telecom installer, we accept candidates from the Philippines. But this one, construction worker and pipe fitter, it must be outside Philippines.
And the reason for that is because the employer doesn't have POEA in order to recruit those roles. So as you all know, there's not just the New Zealand government requirements, there's the Philippine government requirements as well. And everybody in the Philippines must go through the POEA. But we've shared the links to all of the roles that we're recruiting. We will add drivers later for you. So I don't know, there's a way to save like the post or something so that, you know, you can get a notification once we've added it. And then once you've applied, please apply to the role that you actually qualify for. Don't just apply to everything because sometimes our system thinks that you're a spam applicant, and then it flags you and takes you out. So apply to the roles that you can actually do and that you qualify for. And then if you have the right skills for that role, the team will be in touch with you. If not, they won't be in touch. So
all candidates, we see your CV, we check your CV, but if you are qualified, we call you. Tatawagan po namin kayo. May tawag-tawag sa inyo.
So I think that's really important. I know we've run out of time and we're running over. You need to attach your CV to the application. If there's no CV, you didn't apply.
Put detailed job description. For the excavator and truck drivers, you must put the units na mga drive nyo. It's better for us, and put photos as well.
All right. I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very, very much to everybody who's joined us to watch this today. Sorry it was rushed. There's lots of roles to be filled here in New Zealand. So these are all roles that we've spoken about specifically are ones that we have job tokens for. So the employer already has their accreditation with Immigration New Zealand, and we've already got the job check tokens. So these are roles that need to be filled now. So please apply to the roles that you qualify for. Share this with anyone that you know that also would, has the right skills or qualifies, or tag them in the posts, or I don't know. So thank you everyone who's joined us here tonight. Sorry we went a little bit over time. We've enjoyed sharing the roles that are available with you this evening.
And looking forward to seeing you all here in New Zealand.
Yes, in the new year. But for now, I don't know if you can see our Christmas tree in the background. We're getting ready for Christmas. So our offices will be closed from the 22nd of December until when do we come back?
January 2nd?
I don't know. We come back in January, 2 weeks after that. So if you're applying, please apply now. But do also understand that we might not get back to everyone that does qualify until the new year.
I'm still checking your CV, even if it's shut down. I'm checking your CV and I'll be talking to you.
So Rowena's still working, but some of the other process might not be as quick.
But you'll be selected. You'll be receiving.
Yeah, if you qualify, yes, she'll be in touch. So
if you qualify.
Thanks again, everyone, for your time. For now, good evening, good night, and we'll see you in the